Hello and welcome. You have found your way to the Sleepy Geographer. I am so glad you are here. Find a comfortable position and let your body begin to settle. Tonight, we are turning our attention to the vast, deep blue of our world, to the great oceans that cover so much of our planet's surface. We will be exploring the subtle yet immensely powerful forces that are always at work within them. The great oceans in motion and the profound mystery of currents. As you listen, allow the sound of my voice to be a gentle anchor, a soft current to guide your thoughts away from the day and toward a state of deep and peaceful rest. There is nothing you need to do and nothing you need to know. Simply rest and let the story of the Earth's waters gently wash over you. I often wonder where you might be listening from tonight. Perhaps you are in a bustling city or a quiet town under a blanket of stars or city lights. If you feel so inclined, you can leave a comment telling me where you are on this beautiful planet of ours. It is always a quiet joy to see where our stories travel. And if you enjoy these quiet explorations, a gentle tap of the like button and a subscription helps our small channel reach other minds in need of rest. To all of our returning subscribers, thank you. Your quiet presence here makes this space what it is. It is an honor to be a small part of your nightly routine. Now, let's settle in. Let go of the tension in your shoulders and in your jaw. Take a slow, deep breath, and as you exhale, feel your body grow heavier. The story of ocean currents is one of immense scale, of processes that take thousands of years to complete a single cycle. It is a story of patience. It is a tale of silent, invisible rivers, flowing through the dark, cold depths, and of sun-warmed streams gliding across the surface, shaping our world in ways we rarely see. It is my sincere hope, as always, that the subject is just interesting enough to hold your attention, but not so interesting that it keeps you from your well-deserved sleep. That is the gentle paradox of our time together. We are here to learn, but we are also here to let go, to drift into a state of profound calm. So let us begin our journey. Let us venture out onto the calm, breathing surface of a worldwide ocean under a soft and unassuming sky. We will begin with the familiar, the sun, the wind, and the feeling of water. These are the first and most important actors in our quiet drama tonight. Imagine for a moment that the entire ocean is perfectly still. A single planetary pool of water, without a ripple, without a tide, without a single current. It is an impossible image, of course. The Earth is a dynamic place. It spins, it breathes, it is alive with energy, and its waters are a reflection of that life. The very concept of a current suggests movement with purpose, a flow from one place to another. But what provides this purpose to the water? It is not one thing, but a conspiracy of gentle forces, a slow planetary dance choreographed by heat, by salt, and by the turning of the world itself. As we explore these forces, allow your mind to drift with them. Feel yourself becoming as weightless and as fluid as the water itself. There is a deep comfort in understanding these immense and ancient systems. They connect us to the planet in a very fundamental way. The same forces that guide the great Gulf Stream once carried ancient explorers, and today they regulate the very air you are breathing now. Everything is connected in this slow and beautiful dance. From the heat of the sun to the salt from a weathered rock, it all plays its part. And now, with our minds quiet and our bodies at ease, let us wade into the subject more deeply. Let the story begin to unfold. To truly understand the currents, we must begin not in the water, but 93 million miles away, with the sun. It is the ultimate engine of this entire vast system. The Earth, in its tilted journey around the sun, receives this energy unevenly. The equator, the planet's midline, is bathed in direct, concentrated warmth all year round. The water at the equator acts like a great thermal battery, absorbing this constant, gentle solar energy, and it begins to warm and to expand ever so slightly. Meanwhile, at the poles, the same sunlight arrives at a shallow angle. Its energy is spread thin, glancing off the ice and snow. leaving the water there profoundly cold and dense. And so, we have our first and most fundamental truth: a planet with warm water at its middle and cold water at its ends. A planet with a thermal imbalance. Nature, in its quiet, persistent way, always seeks equilibrium. It seeks balance. And so, this difference in temperature sets in motion the first, slow impulse to move. But heat is only one part of the story. The sun's uneven heating also creates our winds. As warm air rises at the equator, cooler air slides in to replace it, creating great, circulating patterns of wind. These winds, the trade winds and the westerlies, blow constantly across the surface of the sea. They are a persistent, gentle hand, pushing against the water. Over thousands of miles, this steady friction transfers an immense amount of energy from the air to the water, dragging the surface layer along with it, creating the great surface currents. So we have a push from the wind above and a fundamental difference in temperature below. But there is a third spectral force at play, a ghost in the machine, the planet's own rotation. As the Earth spins on its axis, it imparts a subtle deflection on any moving object not firmly attached to the ground. This is known as the Coriolis effect. It is a force too subtle for us to feel in our daily lives, but over the vast distances of an ocean basin, it is a master choreographer, turning the currents into great circular patterns. In the northern hemisphere, it bends the moving water to the right. In the southern hemisphere, it bends the water to the left. This is what creates the great clockwise and counterclockwise ocean gyres. So now we have our key players for the surface world: the sun's heat creating a temperature gradient, the wind providing the push, and the Earth's spin providing the twist. But this is only half of our story. This is only what happens in the sunlit, wind-touched upper layers of the sea. There is another world of currents, far below. A slower, deeper, and perhaps even more powerful circulation is happening in the dark, cold abyss. This is a circulation driven not by wind, but by density. The density of seawater is controlled by two things: its temperature, which we have met, and its salinity, the amount of salt dissolved within it. Cold water is denser than warm water, and salty water is denser than fresh water. The coldest, saltiest water is therefore the heaviest water on the planet. And where do we find this water? At the poles. As sea ice forms, it pushes the salt out, leaving behind a layer of intensely cold, intensely saline water that begins to sink. It sinks and sinks and sinks, beginning a journey along the ocean floor that can last for 1,000 years before it ever sees the sun again. This is the beginning of the great ocean conveyor belt. This is the second, deep-seated engine of our oceans in motion. A slow, cold, salty river creeping along the bottom of the world, driven only by its own immense weight. In our journey tonight, we will trace the paths of both of these systems. We will follow the sun-warmed surface gyres, and we will descend into the dark to follow the great conveyor. We will see how they interact, how they shape our climate and our ecosystems, and how this constant silent motion makes our planet habitable and beautiful. So let your mind hold these simple, foundational ideas: the warmth of the sun, the push of the wind, the spin of the earth, and the weight of cold, salty water. And now, let us begin our exploration in earnest, starting where the energy is greatest, at the sun-drenched, wind-swept surface of the equatorial sea. Let yourself drift. We find ourselves now in the vast, warm expanse of the tropical Atlantic. The sun here is a constant, gentle pressure on the surface of the world. The trade winds, born from the planet's heat engine, blow steadily, unceasingly from east to west. They are like a great, invisible hand, stroking the surface of the water, and over millions of square miles, this gentle stroke becomes a powerful and undeniable force. The water has no choice but to respond. It begins to move, not in a rush, but in a vast, slow, creeping sheet, a westward drift that marks the very beginning of a great journey. This immense body of moving water is known as the North Equatorial Current. It is not a river in the traditional sense, with well-defined banks. It is hundreds of miles wide, a colossal sheet of sun-warmed blue water, being pushed slowly but relentlessly across the entire breadth of the Atlantic basin. Its pace is leisurely, almost lazy, a few miles per day. It carries with it the warmth of the tropics, a tremendous reservoir of solar energy, held captive in the molecular dance of the water itself. It is the first leg of a colossal, circular journey that will take decades to complete. As this great current flows westward, the subtle, ghostly influence of the Coriolis effect begins to exert its will. Because we are in the northern hemisphere, this force imparts a slight but constant nudge to the right. The water, seeking to travel straight, finds its path bending ever so gently northward. It is an imperceptible turn, mile by mile, but over the scale of an ocean, this gentle, persistent deflection is everything. It ensures that the water does not simply pile up against the far shore, but is instead guided along a curved, planetary path, beginning the formation of a great loop. For thousands of miles, this slow, westward, northward bending journey continues across the open sea. Marine life drifts within it, a great nursery for plankton and the tiny creatures that feed on them. Sunlight penetrates the upper layers, illuminating a world of deep, hypnotic blue. Below this moving surface layer, the ocean is darker and colder and stiller. But here, in the top few hundred meters, is a world of constant, purposeful motion. A river of warmth wider than any continent, flowing silently under the tropical sun and the passing clouds. After its long, slow passage across the open ocean, the North Equatorial Current finally encounters an obstacle it cannot pass through: the coastline of the Americas. The islands of the Caribbean and the coast of South America act like a great funnel, gathering and channeling this broad, slow sheet of water. The flow, which was once immensely wide, is now forced into a narrower channel, through the straits between islands and into the Gulf of Mexico. And just as a wide, slow river quickens when it enters a narrow gorge, the energy of the current begins to concentrate. As the water is squeezed between the land masses, its character changes entirely. It begins to accelerate. It is no longer a gentle drift, but a focused, powerful stream. This is the birth of what is known as a western boundary current. On the western edge of every great ocean basin, this process of intensification occurs. The water, piled up by the trade winds and deflected by the Coriolis force, has nowhere to go but to form a narrow, swift current flowing away from the equator along the edge of the continent. It becomes a true river within the ocean. In the Atlantic, this intensified current is perhaps the most famous on Earth, the Gulf Stream. Emerging from the Gulf of Mexico and flowing up the eastern seaboard of the United States, it is a staggering force of nature. It carries more water than all of the Earth's rivers combined. Its waters are a visibly different shade of deep, clear blue and are significantly warmer than the surrounding sea. You can see the sharp, defined edge of its boundary from space. A warm blue river flowing through the cooler, greener coastal waters. The speed of the Gulf Stream is remarkable. While its parent current moved at a walking pace, the Gulf Stream can flow at 5 miles per hour, a torrent in oceanic terms. It is also deep, a powerful flow extending thousands of feet into the ocean's depths. This is a current not just of the surface, but a feature that shapes the very architecture of the water column. It carves its own path, creating powerful eddies and whirlpools that spin off its edges, complex and beautiful patterns of turbulence that can last for months. This phenomenon, known as Western intensification, is a direct consequence of the planet's rotation. The subtle Coriolis effect becomes more pronounced as the water moves away from the equator, effectively compressing the flow against the western boundary of the ocean basin. This is why the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic and its counterpart, the Kuroshio Current in the Pacific, are so much faster, deeper, and narrower than the currents on the eastern sides of the oceans. They are the concentrated energetic heart of the great ocean gyres, the main arteries in this planetary circulatory system. The amount of heat transported by the Gulf Stream is almost beyond comprehension. It is a conveyor belt of tropical warmth, carrying the energy equivalent of hundreds of thousands of large power plants northward, out of the tropics, and toward the colder latitudes. This transport of energy is one of the most important functions of the ocean currents. Without it, the tropics would be significantly hotter, and the temperate and polar regions would be unimaginably colder. The Gulf Stream is a great planetary thermostat, moderating the extremes of our world. As the Gulf Stream flows north past Cape Hatteras in North Carolina, it finally leaves the coastline behind. It launches out into the deep, open waters of the North Atlantic, beginning the next great leg of its journey. Its name changes here, becoming the North Atlantic Drift, but its purpose remains the same, to carry its cargo of warmth across the ocean. Its path is no longer constrained by land, and it begins to meander, forming great loops and curves like a river on a floodplain, though this plain is made of cold, deep water. The journey across the Atlantic is a slow, transformative process. The current, now a vast, sprawling drift rather than a narrow stream, begins to release its precious heat into the atmosphere. The winds that blow over it, the westerlies, pick up this warmth and moisture and carry it eastward. The water, in turn, begins to cool. The sharp temperature difference that once defined its edges begins to blur as it slowly shares its energy with the vast, cool ocean around it and the colder air above. It is a slow, generous exhale of warmth. This warm, moist air, carried from the surface of the North Atlantic Drift, is what gives Western Europe its remarkably mild and temperate climate. Countries like Ireland, the United Kingdom, and Norway are on the same latitude as parts of frigid Canada and Siberia. Yet their winters are dramatically less severe. This is the gift of the Gulf Stream, delivered across thousands of miles of ocean. It is a reminder that the climate of a place is not just determined by its position on a map, but by the great, invisible flows of energy that connect it to the rest of the world. Think of the journey this water has taken. It was warmed under the relentless sun of the equator, pushed across an ocean by the trade winds, squeezed into a powerful current along a continental shelf, and has now traveled thousands of miles into the cold North Atlantic. All the while it has been cooling, becoming denser. Its journey is a warm surface current slowly nearing its end. The character of the water is changing, from light and buoyant to heavier and more substantial, preparing it for a different kind of journey that lies ahead. By the time this water reaches the seas near Greenland and Iceland, it has given up most of its tropical heat. It is now cold, and because evaporation along its long journey has left the salt behind, it is also significantly saltier than when it began. This combination of cold temperature and high salinity makes the water incredibly dense, incredibly heavy. It is heavier than the water beneath it, and so it begins to sink. This is a pivotal moment in the ocean's circulatory system, a turning point from the surface world to the world of the deep. But before we follow that water into the abyss, let us complete our circuit of the surface gyre. Not all of the water from the North Atlantic Drift sinks in the far north. A significant portion of it is deflected southward, now forming the eastern part of the Great Loop. This southward flowing current is known as the Canary Current, and its character is the mirror opposite of the Gulf Stream. It is the fourth and final side of our great oceanic square. Its journey now is one of returning, of closing the Great Circle. The Canary Current is an eastern boundary current, and like its counterparts in other oceans, it is exceptionally wide, shallow, and slow-moving. Where the Gulf Stream was a focused jet, the Canary Current is a broad, languid drift. Its waters are now cool, having lost their tropical heat to the European continent. It flows southward along the coast of North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula, bringing cooler, more temperate conditions to lands that would otherwise be much hotter. It is the gentle, cooling return journey. A profound and life-giving phenomenon occurs along the edge of this current. As the Canary Current flows south, the prevailing winds blowing from the land push the surface water offshore, out to sea. This movement of water away from the coast creates a kind of vacuum, and to fill it, water from the deep ocean is pulled upward to the surface. This process is called upwelling. It brings cold, dark, and incredibly nutrient-rich water from the abyss up into the sunlit zone, a process of immense ecological importance. The water that rises from the depths is a treasure trove of life's essential building blocks. It is filled with nitrates and phosphates, the dissolved remains of marine life that has sunk to the ocean floor over millennia. When this natural fertilizer reaches the sunlit surface, it fuels an explosion of life. Microscopic phytoplankton bloom in uncountable numbers, turning the water green and cloudy. This is the base of one of the most productive marine food webs on the entire planet, a feast in the middle of an otherwise oceanic desert. This abundance of phytoplankton supports vast populations of zooplankton, which in turn feed small fish like sardines and anchovies. These fish then support larger predators, tuna, dolphins, seabirds, and whales. The coastal waters off northwest Africa, touched by the Canary Current's upwelling, are one of the world's great fisheries, a testament to the life-giving power of this slow, cold, southern-flowing current. It is a beautiful example of how the physics of the ocean directly creates a thriving, complex biological system. As the wide, cool Canary Current continues its slow journey southward, it eventually nears the equator once more. Here, it is caught by the relentless westward push of the trade winds. It turns west, rejoining the very same north equatorial current where our journey began. The Great Loop is closed. The North Atlantic gyre has completed one full rotation. Water that left the coast of Africa as a cool, nutrient-rich flow now begins its long, slow journey back across the Atlantic, to be warmed, to be intensified, and to begin the cycle all over again. This entire cycle, this vast, clockwise rotation of an entire ocean basin, is a magnificent and self-sustaining system. It is a giant flywheel, spun by the wind and guided by the Earth's rotation, constantly redistributing heat and energy around the globe. Every ocean has gyres like this. The North Pacific has its own great clockwise gyre, with the powerful Kuroshio Current as its western boundary. In the southern hemisphere, due to the Coriolis effect bending things to the left, the gyres spin in the opposite direction, counterclockwise. Imagine 5 of these immense, rotating bodies of water: the North Pacific, the South Pacific, the North Atlantic, the South Atlantic, and the Indian Ocean Gyre. They are the primary organizing feature of the ocean's surface. They are like great, slow-moving weather systems, made of water instead of air. Their boundaries are fluid, their speeds are variable, but their existence is constant. They have been spinning like this for millions of years, a permanent and fundamental feature of our planet's climate system. The centers of these gyres are strange and unique places. The slow rotation of the water tends to push floating material toward the middle, where the currents are weakest. These are areas of calm, clear water, often called the oceanic deserts, because the downward movement of water at the center prevents the upwelling of nutrients. They are the quiet, still eyes in the center of the slow-moving oceanic hurricanes. They are places of profound stillness and clarity, far from the influence of any land. In recent times, these calm centers have become known for something else. They have become collection points for the debris of our civilization. Plastics and other floating materials, carried by currents from all over the world, are slowly drawn into the gyres, centers, where they accumulate. It is a slow, sad testament to the reach of humanity that even in the most remote parts of the ocean, our signature can be found, trapped in the same gentle, physical processes that have shaped the seas for eons. The surface gyres are a complete story in themselves, a beautiful system of wind, water, and rotation. But they are intrinsically linked to the other great circulatory system we spoke of earlier, the deep, cold, density-driven flow. The sinking of the cold, salty water in the North Atlantic, which we touched on, is not an isolated event. It is the beginning of another, much longer and much slower journey. It is time for us to leave the sunlit world of the gyres and descend into the profound, perpetual darkness of the deep ocean. Let your mind imagine this transition. We leave the wind and the waves behind. The light fades from blue, to deep indigo, to a blackness that is absolute. The pressure builds immensely with every foot of descent. Down here, 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters below the surface, the world is cold, quiet, and timeless. The temperature hovers just a few degrees above freezing. It is a realm of crushing pressure and utter stillness, but it is not without motion, for here the great conveyor belt is moving. This deep circulation is known as the thermohaline circulation, thermo for heat and healing for salt. It is a circulation driven purely by differences in water density, which are controlled by temperature and salinity. The water that sank in the North Atlantic, now called North Atlantic deep water, is the primary engine of this system. Having sunk, it begins to creep southward, a vast, slow-moving river of cold, dense water, hugging the contours of the ocean floor, thousands of feet below the familiar Gulf Stream flowing in the opposite direction above it. This is a journey of immense scale and patience. The speeds of these deep currents are measured in feet per hour, not miles. It is a creeping glacial flow. For a parcel of water that sinks near Greenland, the journey southward along the bottom of the Atlantic will take centuries. It flows past the equator, deep beneath the tropical heat, and continues all the way to the Southern Ocean, near Antarctica, remaining in total darkness for the entire duration of its passage. It is a slow, cold, southbound pilgrimage. Near Antarctica, another source of deep water is formed. Here, the frigid polar winds and the formation of sea ice create the coldest, saltiest, and therefore densest water on the entire planet, the Antarctic bottom water. It is so heavy that, when it sinks, it flows underneath the North Atlantic deep water, forming the very lowest, deepest layer of this global current. These two great rivers of deep water, one from the north and one from the south, now begin to flow together, branching out to spread into the deep basins of the Indian and Pacific Oceans. This global network of deep, cold currents is often called the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt. It is the deep, slow, unifying circulatory system of the world's oceans. It ventilates the deep sea, bringing oxygen-rich water from the surface down to the abyss, allowing life to exist even at the greatest depths. Without this constant, slow renewal, the deep ocean would become stagnant and lifeless. This slow, sinking breath in the polar regions is what allows the entire volume of the ocean to remain alive and connected. For hundreds of years, this deep water continues its journey, spreading through the deep Pacific and Indian Oceans. But the system must be a loop. Water that sinks must eventually rise. And so, gradually, over vast areas and many centuries, this deep water slowly begins to warm and mix with the water above it. It slowly rises, a diffuse and almost imperceptible upward movement across entire ocean basins. After a journey that may have lasted 1,000 years in the dark, this water finally returns to the surface. When this ancient water finally surfaces, often in the Pacific or Indian Oceans, it finds itself back in the world of sun and wind. It has completed the Great Loop. It is now surface water again, and it is caught up in the surface gyres we first explored. It will be pushed by the winds, warmed by the sun, and will eventually make its way back to the Atlantic, and then to the polar regions, where it will one day become cold and salty enough to sink once more. The conveyor belt has come full circle. This entire interconnected system of surface gyres and deep ocean conveyors is a critical regulator of Earth's climate. By moving heat from the equator to the poles, and by sequestering vast amounts of heat and carbon dioxide in the deep ocean for centuries, it acts as a planetary buffer. It slows down the rate of climate change and moderates its effects. The health of this vast, slow, and powerful system is inextricably linked to the health and stability of the world we live in on the surface. The time scale of this circulation is humbling to consider. A drop of water sinking in the North Atlantic today might not see the sun again for 1,000 years. It will travel along the bottom of the world, witness geologic ages from the silent darkness, and surface in a world that may be vastly different. It connects our present moment to a deep future in a slow, physical, and undeniable way. It is a powerful reminder of the long, slow, patient rhythms of the planet, which operate on scales far beyond a human lifetime. Beyond these global-scale currents, there are countless other forms of ocean motion, each with its own rhythm and reason. Tides, for instance, are another form of current, driven not by wind or density, but by the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun. This creates a great, slow bulge of water that follows the moon across the planet. As continents get in the way of this bulge, it creates the familiar rise and fall of the tide along our coasts, a twice-daily pulse that is one of the most reliable rhythms of our world. Then there are waves. While they appear to be moving water forward, a simple surface wave is mostly a transfer of energy. The water itself moves primarily up and down in a circular orbit. It is the form of the wave, the energy, that travels across the ocean. These waves are born from the friction of wind on water, and a storm in the middle of the Pacific can create swell that travels for thousands of miles to finally break on a distant shore a week later, a long-distance message from a distant weather system. There are also smaller, more localized currents. Rip currents at the beach are narrow, fast-moving channels of water flowing away from the shore, a danger to swimmers but a natural part of the coastal circulatory system. Longshore currents flow parallel to the coast, driven by waves approaching the beach at an angle, and they are responsible for moving vast quantities of sand along a coastline, constantly reshaping our beaches in a slow, invisible process of erosion and deposition. And there are currents created by rivers. Where a massive river like the Amazon meets the ocean, its freshwater, being less dense, flows out over the top of the salty seawater for hundreds of miles, creating a distinct freshwater lens on the ocean's surface. These interactions between land and sea, fresh and salt water, create complex and dynamic coastal environments, rich estuaries and deltas, where life thrives in the mixing zone between two worlds. Even undersea landslides, called turbidity currents, can create powerful temporary flows. An earthquake can trigger a rush of sediment-laden water down the continental slope, a dense, heavy avalanche that can carve deep canyons into the seafloor and travel for hundreds of miles. These are violent, episodic events, but they are a crucial part of the geological process that shapes the unseen landscape of the deep ocean, a reminder that even the abyss is not static, but is a place of occasional and dramatic change. All of these motions, from the thousand-year journey of the conveyor belt to the fleeting passage of a wave, are interconnected. The wind that makes the waves also drives the surface gyres. The heat exchange that powers the gyres also fuels the sinking water of the thermohaline circulation. The tides mix the water column, and coastal currents interact with the larger oceanic flows. The ocean is not a collection of separate parts, but a single, integrated dynamic fluid, constantly in motion on every scale. To study the ocean's currents is to study the planet's circulatory system. Just as blood carries oxygen and nutrients through our bodies, the currents carry life-giving heat, oxygen, and nutrients through the ocean. They connect the poles to the equator, the surface to the deep, and the sea to the atmosphere. They are the great connective tissue of the Earth's climate system, a silent, powerful, and ceaseless engine that makes our world what it is. It is a system of profound elegance and complexity. Understanding these flows has been one of the great historical challenges of geography and oceanography. Early sailors learned to read the subtle signs of currents to speed their journeys. They mapped the great flows like the Gulf Stream, which became watery highways for trade and exploration. For centuries, our knowledge was limited to the surface, to what we could see and feel. The vast, deep circulation remained a complete mystery, a hidden world we could only guess at. Today, we use an incredible array of tools to understand this motion. Satellites measure the height of the sea surface from space, revealing the subtle hills and valleys of water that correspond to warm and cold currents. Thousands of autonomous robotic floats, called Argo floats, drift with the currents, diving deep into the ocean to measure temperature and salinity before surfacing to transmit their data. They are our robotic messengers, revealing the secrets of the ocean's interior in real time. And still, there is so much we do not know. The ocean is vast and deep, and our understanding of its intricate dance is still developing. We are learning how these currents may shift and change in a warming world. Will the great conveyor belt slow down? How will the gyres respond to changing wind patterns? These are not just academic questions. They are questions about the future stability of the climate that has nurtured all of human civilization. The ocean is speaking, and we are slowly, patiently learning its language. Let us return now, in our minds, to a place of simplicity, to the image of a single, vast ocean. Feel the gentle, rhythmic swell of the water. This motion is the pulse of the planet. It is a rhythm that has existed for billions of years, a slow and steady heartbeat. It is a rhythm of immense power, yet it is also one of profound calm. The energy is so vast, so distributed, that its expression is one of gentleness, of a slow, inexorable, and peaceful flow. The story of the currents is a story of balance. A balance between hot and cold, between fresh and salty, between the push of the wind and the pull of the earth's spin. It is a story of equilibrium, of nature constantly and patiently seeking to even things out, to smooth over the differences. And in this constant, slow-moving quest for balance, the entire planet is able to breathe. This motion is not chaos, but a deep, underlying, and beautiful order. As you lie here, preparing for sleep, feel yourself as part of this great, flowing system. Your own breath is a small tide, rising and falling. Your own circulation is a warm current, distributing energy through your body. You are a part of the same natural laws that guide the Gulf Stream and sink the Antarctic bottom water. There is a deep comfort in this connection, a sense of belonging to the grand, quiet, and ancient rhythms of the world. Let the concept of these slow, deep currents be an anchor for your descending consciousness. Imagine your thoughts slowing down, becoming denser, and sinking gently into a state of deep, restorative rest. Just like the water in the North Atlantic, let go of the energy of the day, of the warmth of your worries, and allow yourself to drift into the quiet, peaceful abyss of sleep. There is a long and peaceful journey ahead in the world of dreams. The ocean is always in motion, even when its surface appears perfectly calm, and so it is with you. As your body lies still, a world of healing and restoration is taking place within. Allow this process to happen. Trust in the deep, quiet, natural rhythms of your own body. There is nothing more you need to do now. Simply let go. Let the currents of sleep carry you where you need to go. Rest now. Just rest. Let us now travel to the very bottom of the world, to the great southern ocean that encircles the continent of Antarctica. This is a place of profound isolation and stark, cold beauty. Unlike the other great oceans, which are contained within basins, the Southern Ocean is a continuous ring of water, a place where the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans all meet and merge into one. There are no continents here to block the way, and this unique geography gives rise to the most powerful and voluminous current on the entire planet, a feature unique in all the world. This is the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, or the ACC. Driven by the relentless, unimpeded westerly winds known as the Roaring Forties and Furious Fifties, this current flows eternally eastward, circling the entire globe. It is a colossal river, carrying 100 times more water than all the Earth's terrestrial rivers combined. It is so powerful that it has carved its own deep paths across the seafloor, shaping the very geology of the region. It is the great, spinning flywheel at the base of the world, a constant and mighty presence. The ACC acts as a great thermal barrier. It isolates the cold, ice-covered continent of Antarctica from the warmer waters to the north. This thermal isolation is crucial for maintaining the stability of the vast Antarctic ice sheets. The current is like a guard, a circular wall of cold, fast-moving water that prevents warmer currents from reaching the continent's edge and accelerating the melting of its ice. It is a fundamental component of the Earth's climate system, a great ring of protection forged by wind and water. Within this current, great icebergs drift like lonely, floating mountains. Calved from the glaciers of Antarctica, they are caught in the eastward flow and begin their own slow, circumpolar journey. They melt slowly, releasing ancient fresh water into the salty sea, a gradual offering from the land of ice. The water here is incredibly rich in life, fueled by the upwelling that occurs as the powerful current flows over undersea mountain ranges. It is a harsh, cold, and windswept world, but it is deeply and profoundly alive. The surface of the Southern Ocean is famously turbulent, with some of the largest waves on Earth. But this surface fury belies the organized, purposeful flow of the current beneath. It is a reminder that, even in places of apparent chaos, there is an underlying order, a deep and powerful current, moving things along a predictable path. The waves are the fleeting expression of the wind, but the current is the permanent response to the planet's shape and its endless spin. It is a testament to the persistent, organizing forces of nature. From this world of constant eastward flow, let us now travel north, to the vast and comparatively placid expanse of the tropical Pacific Ocean. Here the dynamics are usually dominated by a familiar pattern. The trade winds blow steadily from east to west, pushing the warm surface water toward Indonesia and Australia. This piles up the warm water in the west, making the sea level there slightly higher, and the water much warmer. In the east, off the coast of South America, this results in the upwelling of cold, nutrient-rich water. This is the normal, balanced state of the Pacific. But the ocean atmosphere system is not static. It has its own slow, irregular rhythms. Every few years, this normal pattern falters. The steady trade winds weaken, or sometimes even reverse. This is the beginning of the phenomenon known as El Niño. Without the constant push of the wind, the great pool of warm water that had piled up in the western Pacific is no longer held in place. It begins to slosh back eastward, like water in a great basin that has been tilted and then set level again. This eastward flowing wave of warm water, known as a Kelvin wave, travels across the entire breadth of the Pacific. It is a vast, slow-moving surge of warmth. As it reaches the coast of South America, it suppresses the normal upwelling of cold, deep water. The surface of the eastern Pacific, normally cool and fertile, becomes blanketed in this layer of warm, nutrient-poor water. The consequences of this simple shift in water temperature are profound, and they are felt not just here, but all around the world. This shift in the ocean's heat distribution causes a massive reorganization of atmospheric patterns. The warm water in the eastern Pacific fuels intense evaporation and rainfall, bringing floods to the normally arid coasts of Peru and Ecuador. Meanwhile, in the western Pacific, the absence of the usual warm pool leads to severe drought in places like Indonesia and Australia. The entire rhythm of the tropical climate has been altered, simply because the wind and the currents have temporarily changed their ancient dance. The effects of a strong El Niño event ripple outwards across the entire globe. It can influence weather patterns in North America, causing milder winters or changes in rainfall. It can affect the monsoon season in India and the frequency of hurricanes in the Atlantic. It is a powerful demonstration of how interconnected our world is, how a change in the surface currents of one ocean can have a cascade of effects that are felt thousands of miles away. It is the ocean reminding us that it is a single, integrated system. Eventually, after many months, the system corrects itself. The trade winds return to their normal strength, and the warm water is pushed back to the west. Sometimes, the system overcorrects, leading to a phase called La Niña. This is essentially an intensification of the normal pattern, with even stronger trade winds, an even colder eastern Pacific, and an even warmer western Pacific. It has its own distinct, and often opposite, set of global weather impacts. Together, these two phases, El Niño and La Niña, make up the El Niño Southern Oscillation, or ENSO, a great slow breath of the Pacific Ocean. The currents of the ocean are not just sterile movements of water and heat. They are the living highways of the planet, arteries of migration and sustenance for countless marine creatures. The smallest life forms, the plankton, have no choice but to drift with the currents. These microscopic plants and animals form the base of the entire marine food web, and their distribution is dictated by the great flows. They are carried in vast, invisible clouds through the water, a movable feast for all that is larger than them. Consider the journey of a sea turtle, born on a sandy beach. After hatching, the tiny turtles make their way to the sea and are swept up by the coastal currents. They spend their early years, often called the lost years, drifting in the great oceanic gyres. The currents are their nursery, their transportation, and their feeding grounds, carrying them thousands of miles across the open ocean. They follow these ancient, watery paths, guided by an instinct that is tuned to the Earth's magnetic fields and the steady pull of the water. The great whales undertake some of the longest migrations of any animal on Earth, and they too use the currents to their advantage. A gray whale, for example, travels from the cold, nutrient-rich feeding grounds of the Arctic to the warm, calm, calving lagoons of Baja California. On its southward journey, it can ride the cool, south-flowing California current, conserving precious energy. On its return journey north, it stays closer to the shore, avoiding the main current and finding favorable eddies to assist its passage. They are master navigators of these invisible rivers. Even the larvae of coral and barnacles, which as adults are fixed to one spot, rely on currents for their dispersal. They release their young into the water column, and these tiny, free-floating larvae drift for days or weeks, carried by the local flows. If they are lucky, the current will deposit them on a suitable new surface where they can settle and grow. This is how reefs are connected and how marine populations can colonize new territory. The currents are the threads of genetic connection, weaving the tapestry of life across the ocean floor. Schools of migratory fish, like tuna and salmon, also follow specific oceanic pathways defined by currents and water temperature. They are tuned to the subtle boundaries between warm and cold water. The temperature breaks where their prey often congregates. The currents create predictable feeding zones, and the fish follow these zones across entire oceans. Fishermen have long known this, learning to read the signs of the ocean, the temperature, and the clarity of the water, to find these same productive, life-filled boundaries. The great upwelling zones, like the one created by the Canary Current which we have visited, are some of the most important places in the entire ocean. The constant supply of deep, nutrient-rich water makes them biological hotspots. The Humboldt Current off the coast of Peru creates the single most productive fishery in the world. These regions, which make up a tiny fraction of the ocean's surface area, are responsible for a huge percentage of its life. It is a powerful example of how the physical motion of water is the direct architect of biological abundance. Let us now shift our perspective from the timescale of a single life to the immense, slow timescale of geology. The oceans are not just a stage for life. They are an active geological agent, and currents are their primary tool. Over millions of years, the slow, steady work of ocean currents can reshape the planet in profound ways. They are a force of erosion and deposition, a silent sculptor working in the dark, shaping the half of the world that lies hidden beneath the waves. The currents are relentless transporters of sediment. Rivers pour silt and sand into the sea, and this material is picked up by coastal and deep-sea currents and carried for vast distances. Fine clay particles can remain suspended in the water for years, drifting across entire ocean basins before finally settling on the abyssal plain. Over millennia, this constant rain of fine material builds up in thick layers, creating the deep oceanic ooze that blankets the ocean floor. Each layer is a page in Earth's history book, a silent record of the past. In places where deep-sea currents are focused and accelerated, they can become powerful agents of erosion. Just as a river carves a canyon on land, a persistent deep-sea current can scour the ocean floor, preventing sediment from settling and even eroding the rock beneath. They create vast fields of manganese nodules by sweeping away all the finer sediment, leaving only the heavy concretions behind. They build great sediment drifts, some of them hundreds of miles long and thousands of feet high, like giant sand dunes in the abyss. The shape of our continents themselves can influence and be influenced by currents. The opening and closing of oceanic gateways between continents is one of the most powerful drivers of long-term climate change. When the land bridge of Panama formed a few million years ago, it separated the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. This momentous event completely reorganized ocean currents, strengthening the Gulf Stream and perhaps even helping to trigger the ice ages of the Pleistocene. The dance between land and sea is slow, but its consequences are monumental. The creation of the Southern Ocean's Drake Passage between South America and Antarctica was another such pivotal event. When this gateway opened, it allowed the Antarctic Circumpolar Current to form for the first time. This isolated Antarctica, allowing its great ice sheets to grow to their present size. The currents we see today are not eternal. They are a product of the specific arrangement of the continents, and as the continents continue their slow tectonic drift, the currents will continue to change over millions of years. Even the very chemistry of the ocean is maintained by this constant motion. The sinking of water at the poles carries dissolved oxygen from the atmosphere down into the deep sea, a process known as ventilation. This is crucial for all aerobic life in the abyss. At the same time, the upwelling of deep water brings carbon-rich water to the surface, where the carbon can be exchanged with the atmosphere. The ocean currents are a key player in the planet's carbon cycle, a slow, deep breathing that regulates the composition of our air over thousands of years. The motion of the ocean also leaves its signature in the rock record. Geologists can study ancient sedimentary rocks and identify patterns that could only have been created by deep-sea currents millions of years ago. These paleocurrents allow us to reconstruct what the oceans of the past looked like, to map the invisible rivers of a world long vanished. It is a form of geological detective work, using the faintest of clues in stone to understand the dynamic, living oceans of the deep past. And so, the currents connect everything. They connect the weather of today with the climate of millennia. They connect the microscopic plankton with the great whales. They connect the sand on a beach to the deepest parts of the abyss. And they connect our world of today with the deep geological past. It is a system of such profound and beautiful interconnectedness, operating on all scales of time and space, from a fleeting ripple to a million-year tectonic shift. Let us pull away now from the grand scale of geology and the specifics of biology and simply immerse ourselves in the sensory experience of the ocean in motion. Let your mind drift away from facts and figures and into the feeling of the water itself. Imagine the sheer, immense weight and pressure of the deep ocean, a stillness that is not empty, but is full of a powerful, latent presence. A cold that is so profound it feels ancient, a darkness that is absolute and calming. Now, imagine the feeling of a warm surface current in the tropics. The water is buoyant and embracing, the temperature of a gentle bath. You can feel the soft, persistent pull of the flow, a gentle, inexorable guidance. The sun's light filters down from above, dappling the water with dancing patterns of light and shadow. It is a world of warmth, light, and gentle, constant movement. A feeling of being held and carried along, with no effort at all. Think of the sound of the currents. For the most part, they are utterly silent. Their motion is too slow, too broad, too frictionless to generate any sound that we could perceive. The deep, thermohaline circulation is a process of profound and absolute silence. It is a motion that happens beneath the threshold of sound. But in our imagination, we can give it a sound. A deep, slow, resonant hum, like the lowest possible note on a great organ, the sound of the planet turning. The sounds we do associate with the ocean in motion belong to its energetic edges, the crash of waves on a shoreline, a constant, rhythmic percussion, the hiss of foam as the water retreats, the gurgle and slap of water against the hull of a boat, the roar of a tidal race in a narrow channel. These are the sounds of friction, of the ocean's energy being released as it interacts with the solid world. They are the voice of the ocean's power. Now consider the texture of the moving water, the smooth, glassy surface of a calm sea, disturbed only by the faintest ripples from a gentle breeze, the sharp, choppy texture of a wind-whipped bay, the swirling, complex patterns of an eddy where two currents meet and mix, creating visible seams and whirls upon the surface. The water has a grain, a fabric, that is woven by the forces of wind and current, a texture that is constantly changing yet always recognizable. There is a deep, meditative quality to watching moving water. The patterns are endlessly complex, yet they are governed by simple, underlying laws of physics. They are never the same twice, yet they are always familiar. Watching the flow of a current or the swell of the waves can be a way of quieting the mind. It allows our thoughts to follow the same fluid, effortless path as the water, letting go of resistance and finding a state of natural, easy flow. Imagine the interaction of currents with ice. The way a great Arctic current moves the sea ice, grinding the flows against one another with immense, slow power, creating pressure ridges. The way a warmer current can melt an iceberg from below, carving it into fantastic, sculptural shapes. The water and the ice are two forms of the same substance, one fluid and one solid, and their interaction is a slow, beautiful dance of form and flow, of change and resistance. The boundaries between currents can be remarkably sharp. Sometimes, two bodies of water with different temperatures, salinities, or sediment loads will flow side by side without mixing for many miles. You can see a literal line in the ocean, with water of one color and character on one side and a different kind on the other. It is a beautiful, visual representation of the underlying physics, a visible manifestation of the invisible forces that keep these water masses distinct on their parallel journeys. This constant motion, this ceaseless stirring of the global ocean, is a form of planetary memory. The water carries the cold of the poles into the deep tropics, and the warmth of the tropics towards the frigid poles. It carries the chemical signature of the rocks it has touched, the life that has lived and died within it. A single drop of water contains a history of its journey. The ocean does not forget. Its memory is held in its temperature, its salinity, its chemistry, and it is constantly being circulated around the world. Let this idea of a circulating memory be a soothing thought. The world is constantly renewing itself, constantly moving energy and information from one place to another in a slow, stable, and predictable way. It is a system that is designed for balance and for continuity. You can rest in the knowledge that these great, ancient rhythms are holding the world in a steady, life-giving embrace. You can trust in the deep, quiet, and reliable currents that underpin the workings of our world. As we continue to drift, let your attention turn inward once more. Feel the gentle current of your own breath. The air comes in, cool and fresh, bringing oxygen and energy. The air goes out, warm and soft, releasing what is no longer needed. This simple, rhythmic flow is your own personal current, your connection to the atmosphere and to the great cycles of the planet. Each breath is a small, perfect echo of the larger systems we have been exploring tonight. A quiet, rhythmic dance. The currents of the ocean operate without effort, driven by the fundamental forces of nature. There is no strain, no struggle. They are simply responding to gravity, to temperature, to the spin of the planet. And so, you can allow your body to let go of all effort. Allow yourself to be moved by the gentle, natural pull of sleep. There is no need to strive for it. Simply create the conditions for rest and allow the current of sleepiness to naturally carry you away. We have traveled from the sunlit surface to the dark abyss. We have seen the forces that create motion and the life that follows it. We have touched upon the timescales of a single wave and the slow breathing of the planet over millions of years. The mystery of the oceans in motion is not a single secret to be unlocked, but a continuous unfolding of interconnected stories, a web of immense and quiet beauty that holds our world together. This beauty is born from a simple paradox. It is the planet's imbalance, the hot equator and the cold poles, that drives the entire system. Nature's attempt to resolve this imbalance, to find equilibrium, creates the very motion that makes the planet habitable. It is in the tension between opposites that the dance of life is found. The currents are the beautiful, flowing result of this constant, planetary search for peace and for balance. As we near the end of our journey tonight, let the remaining details fall away. Hold on only to the feeling of flow, of gentle, persistent, and peaceful motion. Let it be a lullaby for your subconscious mind. A reminder that you are part of a world that is held together by great, silent, and benevolent forces. A world where even the deepest, darkest places are connected to the light, and where the constant search for balance creates a beautiful and life-sustaining dance. The great ocean conveyor belt, with its 1,000-year cycle, puts our own lives into a gentle perspective. Our days and our worries are but a brief ripple on the surface of this immense, slow-moving system. There is a profound peace to be found in this realization. A sense of being part of something so much larger, so much older, and so much more patient than ourselves. It allows us to let go of the urgency of the moment and sink into a more timeless state of being. The world will continue its slow, beautiful turning. The currents will continue their ancient paths, carrying warmth and life through the deep. The sun will warm the equator, and the ice will form at the poles. Everything is in its right place, performing its role in this silent planetary choreography. You can rest now, knowing that the great systems of the world are stable and enduring, and that you are safe within them. Feel a final wave of relaxation wash over you, like a gentle tide coming in, starting at the tips of your toes and moving slowly up through your body, a current of calmness, loosening every muscle, quieting every nerve. Let it flow through your feet, your legs, your hips. Feel your body growing heavy and sinking deeper into the surface beneath you, utterly supported and completely at peace. The current of calm continues its journey, up through your torso, across your shoulders, and down your arms to your fingertips. All the tension of the day is being carried away, washed out to a deep, quiet sea. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands become heavy and warm. You are safe. You are comfortable. And you are ready for a deep and profound rest. Finally, let this wave of peace flow up through your neck, relaxing your jaw, your cheeks, and the small muscles around your eyes. Smooth your brow. Let your mind become as calm and as clear as a deep, still pool of water. There are no more thoughts to think, no more stories to follow. There is only the gentle, quiet, and peaceful darkness that precedes a wonderful night's sleep. We have followed the oceans in motion, and now it is time for our own motion to cease. It is time to become still and to let the quiet work of sleep begin. The journey is over for tonight. You have arrived at your destination, a place of peace, of comfort, and of deep tranquility. Allow yourself to fully arrive in this place now. The story of the ocean currents will be here for you another time, should you wish to hear it again. But for now, its purpose is complete. It has carried you to the shores of slumber. Let my voice begin to fade into the background, becoming just another gentle sound in the quiet of your room. Your focus now is only on your own comfort and your own deepening rest. All around the world, the great oceans are flowing, a silent, constant motion that holds the world in a gentle, life-giving embrace. Let that thought be your final comfort as you drift away. You are held in that same embrace. You are part of that same beautiful and interconnected world. And now, it is time for you to rest. Thank you for joining me, the sleepy geographer, on this journey tonight. It has been a quiet honor to share this story with you. I wish you a sleep that is as deep, as peaceful, and as restorative as the great, slow currents of the abyssal sea. May your dreams be gentle and your rest be complete. Sleep well, let go of everything, drift away now on the gentle currents of the night. Good night. Having circled the globe, let us now venture into a more intimate body of water, a sea that has been the cradle of civilizations and which operates like a miniature ocean with its own unique and fascinating circulatory system. We turn our attention to the deep sapphire blue of the Mediterranean Sea. Enclosed by 3 continents, its connection to the vast Atlantic is a narrow strait, a single, slender gate through which all of its dialogue with the wider ocean must pass. This constriction is the key to its entire character and its unique internal motion. The Mediterranean is a sea of intense evaporation. The hot, dry sun and winds that define its climate lift vast quantities of fresh water from its surface, leaving the salt behind. Over time, this process makes the surface water of the Mediterranean significantly saltier and therefore denser than the Atlantic water just outside its gates. This simple fact, this difference in salinity, creates a remarkable and permanent two-way current at the Strait of Gibraltar. It is a circulation driven not by wind, but by the relentless thirst of the sun. At the surface of the strait, less salty, lighter water from the Atlantic flows eastward into the Mediterranean, a constant, steady inflow to replace the water lost to evaporation. It is a river of life, bringing nutrients and Atlantic species into this enclosed basin. But beneath this incoming surface flow, a very different journey is taking place. In the depths of the strait, the super salty, and therefore very heavy, Mediterranean water flows westward, out into the Atlantic. It is a dense, deep river, cascading down the continental slope in a silent, salty waterfall. This outflow of dense Mediterranean water is a powerful force. As it spills out into the Atlantic, it sinks due to its great weight, finding its equilibrium level at a depth of about 1,000 meters. It then spreads out, forming a distinct, warm, and salty layer that can be traced for thousands of miles across the Atlantic Ocean. It is a Mediterranean tongue, a chemical and thermal signature of the enclosed sea injected into the deep ocean. It contributes to the complex layering of the Atlantic, a subtle but important ingredient in the larger thermohaline circulation. This process makes the Mediterranean a concentration basin, a place where the ocean's properties are intensified before being exported. The ancient mariners who sailed these waters knew of these currents. They spoke of the surface flow that could help or hinder their passage through the Pillars of Hercules. They could not have known of the deep, invisible river flowing in the opposite direction beneath their keels, a silent and powerful current that was connecting their sea to the abyssal plains of the great ocean beyond. It is a beautiful, self-contained example of the principles that govern the entire global ocean. Let us now leave this sea of history and travel to an ocean defined by a different rhythm, a rhythm not of salt but of the wind, and not of a constant wind, but of one that dramatically reverses itself with the seasons. We journey to the northern Indian Ocean, a place where the currents do not flow in the same direction year-round, but instead perform a great, slow, seasonal dance, dictated by the mighty Asian monsoons. This is a unique situation on our planet, a place where the ocean's circulation breathes in and out with the changing of the year. In the winter, the winds of the northeast monsoon blow from the dry, cool Asian continent out over the ocean. This wind pushes the surface waters of the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, creating a steady, clockwise circulation in the basin. The currents flow south along the coast of India, a predictable and steady pattern that has been used by sailors and traders for millennia. This was the wind that carried merchants from Arabia and Persia to the shores of India and beyond, a reliable highway of the sea. But then, in the summer, a profound change occurs. The vast Asian landmass heats up under the sun, creating a massive area of low pressure. This reverses the winds entirely. The southwest monsoon begins to blow, carrying immense quantities of moisture from the ocean onto the land, bringing the life-giving rains. For the ocean, this reversal of the wind is a command to change direction. The surface currents slow down, stop, and then begin to flow in the opposite direction. The entire circulatory system of the northern Indian Ocean reconfigures itself. With the summer monsoon winds, the currents now flow counterclockwise. A powerful, fast-moving current, the Somali current, forms along the coast of Africa, flowing northwards toward the Arabian Peninsula. This is a dramatic reversal. The oceanic highway that once flowed south now flows north. For the sailors of old, understanding this reversal was the key to everything. It meant you could sail from India to Africa in one season, and from Africa back to India in the next, a perfect cyclical system for trade and travel, all powered by the shifting breadth of the continent. This seasonal reversal also has a profound biological impact. The powerful Somali current in the summer creates one of the world's most intense seasonal upwelling zones. The strong winds push the surface water away from the coast, drawing up incredibly cold, nutrient-rich water from the depths. The water temperature can drop by several degrees in a matter of days, and the sea explodes with life. It becomes a rich feeding ground for vast schools of fish and the whales that follow them. It is a feast that appears and disappears with the changing of the winds, a pulse of life tied to the rhythm of the monsoon. The story of currents is not just a story of physics and biology. It is also deeply woven into the fabric of human history and imagination. For countless generations, the ocean's surface was a great mystery, a vast and often terrifying wilderness. The currents were invisible spirits, gods or monsters that could carry a vessel to safety or drag it to its doom. Understanding them was a matter of survival, and where understanding failed, mythology was born to fill the void. The currents were the whims of the sea gods. Consider the great whirlpools of legend, like the Charybdis of Homer's Odyssey. These were likely exaggerations of real tidal races, places where fast-moving tidal currents are squeezed through narrow channels, creating powerful, swirling eddies and vortices. To a small, ancient vessel, such a place would have seemed like the very mouth of a monster, a place where the sea itself was trying to swallow them. The myth was a way of encoding and respecting the very real power of the water in these specific, dangerous locations. The Polynesian navigators were some of the greatest sailors in human history, colonizing the vast, remote islands of the Pacific in simple, outrigger canoes. They had no written maps, no compasses. Instead, they read the ocean itself. They could feel the subtle shift in the rhythm of the ocean's swell as it refracted around a distant, unseen island. They followed the paths of migratory birds. And they had a deep, intuitive knowledge of the great surface currents, the westward flowing equatorial currents that could carry them on their epic voyages of discovery. The ocean was their map. In more recent times, adventurers like Thor Heyerdahl with his Kon-Tiki raft sought to demonstrate the power of these currents to connect distant cultures. By building a simple raft and entrusting himself to the Humboldt and South Equatorial currents, he showed that it was possible for ancient peoples from South America to have reached the islands of Polynesia. His journey was a testament to the idea of the currents as great, connecting pathways, conveyor belts of migration for plants, animals, and perhaps even people. Even the grim history of the transatlantic slave trade was shaped by the currents. The sailing routes formed a triangle, following the gyre. Ships would sail from Europe south along the Canary Current to Africa, then cross the Atlantic on the westward flowing equatorial current to the Americas, and finally ride the powerful Gulf Stream and North Atlantic Drift back to Europe. This tragic chapter of history was written upon the same great, circular paths that we have explored, its routes dictated by the unceasing pattern of the wind and water. The currents continue to shape our world in ways we are only just beginning to understand. They are critical for the dispersal of plastic pollution, as we have seen, carrying it to the most remote corners of the globe. But they also disperse heat in ways that are crucial for our climate. A slight slowdown in the great Atlantic circulation, the AMOC, could have dramatic consequences for weather patterns on both sides of the ocean. The health of these invisible rivers is directly tied to the stability of our world. Let's step back from these large-scale ideas and focus on the quiet, personal ways one might experience a current. Imagine you are in a small boat on a calm sea. With the engine off, you are simply drifting. You might feel no sense of motion at all. The water around you seems still. But if you look at a fixed point on the distant shore, you will see that you are, in fact, moving. You are being carried by a force you cannot see or feel directly, a silent, persistent, and gentle push. Or perhaps you are swimming in the ocean just beyond the waves. You feel the cool water on your skin. After a few minutes, you look back to the beach and realize you are 100 feet down the shore from where you started. You have been caught in a longshore current, a river of water moving parallel to the beach. You did not feel a powerful push, just a slow, almost unnoticeable transport. It is a subtle but powerful reminder that the water is always in motion, always going somewhere. One can sometimes see the evidence of currents written on the surface of the sea. Long lines of foam or floating seaweed, all aligned in the same direction, mark the convergence of two water bodies or the main axis of the flow. These are the windrows of the sea, the ocean's way of making its hidden structure visible. They are faint, ephemeral clues, but to a trained eye, they speak volumes about the direction and strength of the unseen river flowing just beneath the surface. A change in water temperature can also be a sign of a current. A swimmer might pass through a sudden, cold patch of water. This could be a small upwelling, a place where a current flowing over an undersea ridge has brought a parcel of deeper, colder water to the surface. It is a brief, sensory encounter with the three-dimensional structure of the ocean, a moment where the hidden world of the deep makes its presence felt in the sunlit world of the surface. A sudden, cool, and mysterious touch. The study of the ocean's motion is a study of a world largely unseen. More than 90% of the ocean's volume is in the deep, dark, aphotic zone, where no sunlight ever penetrates. And it is here that the slowest, largest, and in many ways most important currents are flowing. The Great Thermohaline Circulation is a process that occurs in utter darkness under immense pressure over thousands of years. It is the great hidden engine of our planet's climate, operating on a scale that is almost beyond our ability to imagine. This unseen world is not empty. It is filled with a complex and beautiful topography. There are mountain ranges taller than the Himalayas, vast plains flatter than any on land, and deep trenches that could swallow Mount Everest. The deep ocean currents, slow as they are, interact with this topography. They flow around seamounts, are channeled through deep canyons, and spill over abyssal ridges. They are rivers flowing through a hidden landscape, a world as complex and varied as the one we know on land. Even in the perpetual night of the abyss, the currents bring the faint promise of life from above. The slow rain of marine snow, the organic debris from the sunlit world, is the primary source of food for deep-sea ecosystems. The currents distribute this precious resource, sometimes concentrating it in certain areas, creating oases of life on the deep ocean floor. The flow of water is the flow of life's energy, connecting the top of the world to the very bottom in a slow, gentle, and life-sustaining cascade. To contemplate these great unseen flows is a profound exercise in humility and wonder. It is to recognize that the world we see on the surface is just a thin, fragile veneer. Beneath it lies a system of such immense scale and power that it defies easy comprehension. It operates on timescales that make a human life seem like the briefest of moments. It is a reminder that we are part of a system that is ancient, powerful, and deeply mysterious. As our exploration begins to draw to a close, let us gather the threads of our journey. We began with the sun, the ultimate source of energy. We saw how its uneven heating, combined with the Earth's spin and the push of the wind, creates the great spinning gyres of the surface. We witnessed the power of these gyres in the form of the Gulf Stream, a mighty river of warmth that shapes the climate of continents. We saw how this system is not a simple loop but a complex, interconnected web of motion. Then we descended. We left the world of light and wind and entered the cold, dark, silent world of the deep. Here, we found a different kind of current, driven not by the push of the air, but by the simple, powerful pull of gravity on cold, salty water. We traced the path of this great ocean conveyor belt, a journey of 1,000 years, from its sinking point in the North Atlantic to its slow upwelling in the far-flung corners of the world's oceans. A slow, deep, planetary breath. We have seen that the ocean is not one single entity, but a collection of distinct water masses, each with its own history, its own temperature, and its own salinity. These water masses flow and interact like great, slow-moving weather fronts, maintaining their identity for thousands of miles. The currents are the boundaries and the pathways of these distinct bodies of water, a complex, three-dimensional dance of density and momentum that fills every corner of the global ocean. We have seen how this motion is the engine of life. It creates the fertile upwelling zones that feed the world's great fisheries. It provides the highways for migrating whales and the nursery grounds for tiny sea turtles. The distribution of life in the sea is not random. It is profoundly shaped by the physical structure of the ocean, by the paths of the currents that concentrate nutrients and carry life from one shore to another. The motion of the water is the choreography of life itself. And we have seen how this motion is tied to our own story, how it shaped history, enabling the age of discovery and the patterns of trade, how it inspired myths and legends as humanity sought to make sense of its awesome power, and how its health and stability today are deeply intertwined with the future of our climate and our civilization. Our connection to these great, silent flows is deeper and more profound than we might ever imagine. The great mystery of the oceans in motion is not a puzzle with a single answer. It is, instead, a continuous source of wonder. The more we learn, the more we appreciate the elegance and complexity of the system. It is a system of perfect, functional beauty, a planetary-scale machine whose purpose is to create balance, to sustain life, and to regulate the climate of our world. It asks nothing of us, but gives us everything. Let the grandeur of this system be a comforting thought. You are resting on a planet that is alive with a deep, slow, and purposeful rhythm. While you sleep, the Gulf Stream will continue its northward journey. The Antarctic circumpolar current will continue its eternal eastward lap. And in the deep, dark abyss, water that has not seen the sun for centuries will continue its slow, patient pilgrimage. All is well. The great, quiet work of the planet continues. Feel your own body becoming part of this rhythm. Feel the slow, steady current of your heartbeat, distributing life and warmth. Feel the gentle tide of your breath, connecting you to the world outside. You are not separate from these great natural cycles. You are a small but perfect expression of them. And just as the ocean has its rhythms of motion and stillness, so too do you have your time for activity and your time for deep, profound rest. The currents of the mind can sometimes be turbulent, like a stormy sea. Thoughts and worries can create choppy waves and conflicting flows. But you know that beneath this surface agitation, there is always a place of deep stillness. As you prepare for sleep, allow your attention to sink beneath the surface of your thoughts. Let the turbulence fade away. Descend into the calm, quiet, peaceful abyss of your own consciousness, where true rest can be found. There is a form of deep trust in allowing yourself to fall asleep. It is like letting go of the shore and allowing yourself to be carried by a gentle, benevolent current. You do not need to know the destination. You simply need to trust that the current will carry you through the restorative darkness of the night and deliver you, refreshed and renewed, to the shores of a new day. Let go of the need to control. Trust the process. Allow the current of sleep to take you. The world is full of hidden rivers, not just in the sea, but in the air, the great jet streams that circle the globe, and in the solid earth itself, the slow, imperceptible convection currents of the mantle that move the continents. Our planet is a fluid, dynamic place on every level. To sleep is to align yourself with this fundamental truth, to become fluid, to let go of rigidity, and to join the great, silent, and ever-present dance of the cosmos. Imagine the weight of the water in the deepest ocean trench, a pressure so immense it is almost beyond comprehension. Now imagine the feeling of perfect buoyancy, of being weightless in the water. The ocean contains both of these extremes, and so it is with rest. Allow your body to feel heavy, to sink deeply into the mattress. At the same time, allow your mind to feel light, buoyant, and free to drift wherever it needs to go. A perfect balance of heaviness and lightness. The memory of our journey tonight is now beginning to dissolve, like salt in water. The details of the gyres and the currents are fading, leaving behind only an impression, a feeling of interconnectedness, a feeling of immense, slow, and patient power, a feeling of profound and beautiful order. This feeling is all you need to carry with you now, as you drift deeper and deeper into a state of complete and total relaxation. The ocean is a great dissolver. It wears away the hardest rocks into the finest sand. It dissolves minerals and salts, and it can dissolve the sharp edges of a difficult day. Let the imaginary waters of sleep wash over your mind, dissolving any lingering tensions or worries. Let them become soft, diffuse, and unimportant. Allow everything to merge into a single, peaceful feeling of calm, a single, uniform state of rest. In the deep ocean, there is no day or night. It is a world of constant, unchanging twilight. As you fall asleep, you are entering your own inner abyss, a place beyond time where the healing work of the body can proceed without distraction. It is a necessary journey into the darkness, a journey that allows you to return to the light renewed. Embrace this gentle, healing darkness now. The constant motion of the ocean ensures that no part of it is ever truly isolated. A drop of water from the deepest Pacific will one day feel the sun in the North Atlantic. Everything is connected. Everything is part of the same single great system. And so are you. As you rest, you are connected to the quiet breathing of the trees, the slow turning of the earth, and the silent, ceaseless flow of the great ocean currents. You are a part of it all. Our story is now almost complete. The last few thoughts are like the last few gentle waves upon a quiet shore. There is nothing left to learn, nothing left to analyze. The time for understanding is over, and the time for simply being has arrived. Be still, be calm, be heavy. Let the gentle rhythm of my voice be the last current to guide you, leading you out of the harbor of wakefulness and into the vast, open, and peaceful ocean of sleep. The energy that moves the oceans is immense, but it is also silent. It is the strong, quiet type of power. The power of persistence, of patience, of processes that unfold over thousands of years. This is the kind of power that brings true rest. Not a sudden absence of noise, but a deep, resonant, and profound quiet that sinks into your very bones. Invite that deep, silent power into your body now. Every coastline in the world is a conversation between the land and the sea. The land offers resistance, and the sea offers its endless motion. And from this conversation, beautiful and unique forms are born. Sandy beaches, rocky cliffs, quiet coves. Your own journey into sleep is a conversation between the stillness of your body and the gentle, persistent motion of your breath. And from this conversation, a deep and peaceful rest is born. You have given your mind a great and gentle journey tonight. You have allowed it to travel the globe, to dive to the bottom of the sea, and to contemplate the grandest of scales. Now you can give it its final and most important instruction, to do nothing at all, to release the helm, to let the sails go slack, and to simply drift in the calm, safe, and quiet harbor of the present moment. No more effort is needed. The journey is done. A current has no goal, no destination in mind. It simply flows according to the laws of physics, from a place of high pressure to low, from warm to cold. It follows the path of least resistance, and sleep is much the same. It is not a destination you must fight to reach. It is the natural path of a tired mind and body. Simply stop resisting, and you will find yourself flowing effortlessly into its embrace. The world is now quiet. The day is over. You have done all that you needed to do. You can now place all of your responsibilities gently aside, knowing they will be there for you tomorrow. For now, there is only this moment, this comfortable bed, this quiet room, and the deep, inviting peace of the approaching sleep. Allow yourself to be fully present in this peace. The final thoughts are dissolving. The narrative is fading away. All that is left is the sound of my voice, and soon that too will be gone. Let your awareness rest on the simple physical sensation of your body, the weight of the blankets, the coolness of the pillow, the gentle, rhythmic motion of your own breathing. These are the anchors that will hold you steady as you drift away. It is time to let go completely. Let go of my voice. Let go of the story. Let go of the day. Let go of any thought that arises. Let them all drift by like clouds in a vast sky. Give yourself over entirely to the quiet, to the darkness, and to the deep healing wisdom of your own body. You are safe, you are at peace, and you are ready to sleep. Thank you once again for allowing me to guide you on this journey. It is a profound privilege to be a small part of your transition into rest. May your sleep be deep and unbroken. May you travel to wonderful places in your dreams. And may you awaken tomorrow feeling restored, refreshed, and ready for a new day. Rest now. Rest completely. And so, we leave the oceans to their endless, silent motion. We leave the world to its quiet turning. We have found our own point of stillness, our own peaceful harbor. There is nothing left to do but to close your eyes and drift. Good night. The story of currents is also a story of the unseen infrastructure of our modern world. On the floor of the great oceans, crisscrossing the abyssal plains and winding through submarine canyons, lie the fiber optic cables that carry our digital lives. The routes for these vital arteries are chosen with immense care, taking into account the deep, slow but powerful currents that can abrade or bury them. We lay our most advanced technology in the path of these ancient flows, a modern necessity that must respect a timeless power. The silent river of the deep flows over the silent river of our data. The currents also play a profound role in the Earth's ability to absorb our impact. The ocean is the world's largest active carbon sink, and it is the currents that make this possible. As surface water rich in dissolved carbon dioxide sinks in the polar regions, that carbon is removed from the atmosphere and sequestered in the deep ocean for centuries, even millennia. This slow, sinking part of the Great Conveyor Belt is a planetary-scale service of immense importance. It is the ocean quietly, patiently, and slowly cleaning the air, a process that happens in the cold, dark silence of the abyss. There are places in the ocean known as dead zones, areas where the water has too little oxygen to support most marine life. These can occur naturally, but are often exacerbated by human activity. The health of the ocean's circulation is our greatest defense against these zones. The constant stirring, the sinking of oxygen-rich surface water, and the slow upwelling from the depths all work to ventilate the ocean, to bring breath to its deepest corners. The ceaseless motion of the currents is, in the most literal sense, the breath of the sea. As we come to understand the sensitivity of this system, we also understand its fragility. Small changes in temperature or salinity in the North Atlantic, for example, could potentially slow down the sinking of deep water, weakening the entire global conveyor belt. This is not a distant academic concern. It is a question about the very stability of the climate system that has allowed us to flourish. We are in a delicate dialogue with these ancient rhythms, and the ocean's response to our actions is slow, powerful, and has consequences that will last for generations. Let us now turn away from these weighty considerations and return to the simple, elemental beauty of the flow itself. There is a deep lesson in the way water moves. It never forces its way. It yields, it adapts, it flows around obstacles. It finds the path of least resistance. It is persistent, not through aggression, but through its constant, gentle, and unceasing presence. The softest of substances, over time, can wear away the hardest of stones. It is the wisdom of yielding, the power of gentle persistence. A current in the ocean is simply a response to an imbalance. It is a flow from a place of more to a place of less. More heat to less heat. Higher pressure to lower pressure. This constant movement is not a sign of a flawed system, but a sign of a system that is alive and actively seeking harmony. It is a beautiful metaphor for our own minds. The flow of thoughts, of worries, is also a response to imbalance. And just like the ocean, our minds have a natural underlying tendency to seek calm, to seek a state of peaceful equilibrium. Think of the great, slow rotation of the oceanic gyres. They do not hurry. A single circuit takes decades. There is no sense of urgency. The system is patient. It knows that it has time. This is the pace of the planet itself. In our own lives, we often feel a sense of rush, of urgency, but we can choose to align ourselves with this deeper, slower rhythm. The rhythm of the seasons, of the tides, of the great, slow-turning currents. We can give ourselves permission to be patient, to allow things to unfold in their own natural time. The deep thermohaline circulation is a journey into darkness. Water leaves the sunlit surface and travels for 1,000 years in the cold, black abyss. Yet this journey is not an end. It is a crucial part of the cycle. It is a time of transformation, of gathering nutrients, of rest. And it is this journey into the dark that makes its return to the light so life-giving. So it is with sleep. It is a necessary and restorative journey into our own quiet darkness, a journey that allows us to return to the world of light, renewed and refreshed. Every drop of water in the ocean is connected to every other drop. A molecule of water that is now off the coast of Japan may have once been part of an Antarctic ice shelf, and may one day find itself in the warm waters of the Gulf Stream. The currents are the system that ensures this constant mixing, this constant communication. It is a reminder that nothing in our world is truly separate. We are all part of a single, fluid, and interconnected system. Your breath connects you to the air to the sea, and the sea to the entire world. As you rest, you can let go of the feeling of being a separate, isolated self. You can allow yourself to feel this connection to the larger whole. Feel yourself as a part of the great breathing, flowing system of the planet. Let your sense of individual effort dissolve, just as a river dissolves into the sea. There is no need to hold on so tightly. You can trust that you are part of something vast, ancient, and beautiful, and you can allow yourself to be carried by its gentle, supportive flow. Let us once more recall the beginning of our journey, the gentle, constant warmth of the sun on the equator. This is where it all begins. A simple gift of energy from a distant star. It is a quiet, unassuming force, yet it is the engine of all the motion we have explored. It is the first cause, the prime mover. This simple, steady warmth is like the gentle, steady beat of your own heart. A quiet, reliable, life-giving presence that you can always return to. The foundation of all your own internal rhythms. And from that warmth, the wind is born. The air begins to move. A great, invisible current in the sky. And this moving air reaches down and touches the surface of the water, transferring its energy through friction, through a gentle, persistent caress that stretches across thousands of miles. It is a beautiful image of how two separate systems, the atmosphere and the hydrosphere, can communicate and influence one another through a simple touch, creating a motion that is greater than the sum of its parts. And then, the subtle, ghostly hand of the Earth's own rotation, the Coriolis effect, the silent, planetary force that adds the twist, the spin, the curve. It turns a simple, straight flow into a great, elegant, circular dance. It is the unseen choreographer, the hidden principle of order that ensures the currents do not simply crash into continents, but instead form the vast, stable, and life-sustaining gyres. It is the beauty of a hidden law, creating pattern and elegance out of simple motion. From these surface flows, driven by the sun and the wind, we remember the other great engine, the engine of density, the cold, salty water at the poles, heavy with its own intrinsic properties, begins to sink, not because it is pushed, but because it is pulled by the simple, undeniable force of gravity. It is a motion, born not of external force, but of internal character. A quiet, determined, and powerful descent that begins a journey of 1,000 years. And so we have the two great stories of oceanic motion. The story of the surface, which is a story of light, wind, and speed. And the story of the deep, which is a story of darkness, density, and immense patience. One is a great horizontal spinning, and the other is a great vertical overturning. And together they form a single, complete, three-dimensional system that connects every part of the ocean. From the warmest tropical lagoon to the coldest, darkest, most pressurized abyss. They are two halves of a single, perfect whole. We have traveled these paths in our minds tonight. We have ridden the Gulf Stream to the shores of Europe. We have sunk into the cold darkness of the North Atlantic. We have circled the globe on the mighty Antarctic circumpolar current. We have witnessed the great seasonal reversal of the monsoons in the Indian Ocean. We have explored the ocean's role in history, in biology, in the very shaping of our world. It has been a long and gentle journey, and now that journey is complete. The purpose of this journey was not to fill your mind with facts that might keep you awake. It was to offer your mind a story so large, so slow, and so peaceful that it could not help but relax. To replace the small, fast, and anxious thoughts of the day with the vast, slow, and patient rhythms of the planet. To give your consciousness a great, calm current to drift upon. A current that leads only to a place of deep and profound rest. Let the final details of this story now fade from your mind. Let them dissolve like sea foam on the sand. What remains is not the knowledge, but the feeling of being connected, the feeling of being part of a vast, stable, and beautiful system, the feeling of profound and powerful calm that comes from contemplating the deep, slow, and ancient rhythms of the earth. This feeling is the true gift of our journey together. Your body knows these rhythms instinctively. The slow, steady beat of your heart is a rhythm that has been with you since before you were born. The gentle, tidal flow of your breath is the most fundamental rhythm of your life. As you lie here, simply bring your awareness to these internal currents. Feel the gentle pulse in your wrist. Feel the soft rise and fall of your chest. These are the ancient, life-giving flows of your own inner ocean. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is nothing else you need to do. You have arrived at the end of the day. You have found your way to a place of comfort and safety. You can now grant yourself the great and simple permission to let go. To let go of all effort, all control, all thought. To surrender to the gentle, irresistible pull of sleep. It is a safe and welcoming current, ready to carry you into a state of deep and healing rest. The story is over. My voice is now just a sound, a gentle vibration in the air. Soon, it too will fade, leaving you in the peaceful embrace of silence. Let the silence welcome you. It is not an emptiness, but a fullness, a space in which your body can do its most important work of healing and restoration. Let the quiet be a soft, warm blanket, covering you and keeping you safe throughout the long and peaceful night ahead. As you drift on the edge of sleep, you may feel a sense of floating, of weightlessness. This is a beautiful state. It is the feeling of your mind letting go of its tight grip on the physical world. It is the beginning of your nightly journey into the vast, inner ocean of your own consciousness. Do not be afraid. It is a familiar and friendly sea. Allow yourself to float, to drift, to be carried on its gentle, silent currents. We have spoken of the great paradox of the currents, that the planet's imbalance creates the very flows that maintain its balance. And sleep is a similar paradox. We must let go of the desire to sleep in order to find it. We must stop trying and simply allow it to happen. In this final moment of surrender, of letting go of all effort, we find the very thing we were seeking, a deep and peaceful state of rest. The great ocean is always there, the currents are always flowing, they will be here tomorrow and the day after and for millennia to come. There is a deep and profound comfort in this permanence. You can rest in the knowledge that the world is held in a steady, reliable, and ancient embrace. And you are a part of that world, you are held in that same embrace. You are safe, you are secure. Let your final conscious breath be a deep and satisfying one. Breathe in calm. Breathe out any remaining tension. Feel your body sink one last final inch into the mattress. You are now fully and completely at rest. The gate to sleep is open before you. All you need to do is drift through, gently, peacefully, and without any effort at all. The ocean has many voices, the roar of the waves, the gentle lapping on the shore. But its deepest and most powerful voice is silence, the silent flow of the abyssal currents. It is time now to listen to that silence, to let it fill your mind, your body, and your room. Let this profound and peaceful silence be your final lullaby, a lullaby of deep, quiet, and immense calm. Your own internal ocean is now calm. The surface is like glass. The depths are still and quiet. All the systems of your body are slowing down, shifting into the deep, restorative rhythm of the night. You have done your part. You have brought yourself to this place of rest. Now the ancient wisdom of your body will take over, guiding you through the hours of darkness, healing and renewing you for the day to come. Trust in this wisdom. The journey we took tonight was a reminder of a simple and beautiful truth. Everything flows. Energy flows, life flows, time flows. To resist this flow is to create tension. To accept it, to move with it, is to find peace. Tonight, you have chosen to move with the great, gentle flow that leads to sleep. It is the most natural and wise choice you can make at the end of a long day. The world outside your window will continue its own story. Cars will pass, the moon will travel across the sky. But none of that matters to you now. Your world has become small, quiet, and intensely personal. It is the world of your own comfort, your own warmth, your own encroaching dreams. This is your sanctuary. A safe and peaceful harbor where you can rest, undisturbed, until the morning light. As I say these final words, let them be a gentle push, like a small boat being pushed away from the dock into the quiet waters of a calm lake at midnight. You are now adrift, in the best possible way, adrift on a sea of tranquility. Let the waves of drowsiness, which are now becoming stronger, carry you away from the shore of consciousness. The journey is easy. The sea is calm. Think of the color of the deep, deep ocean. Not black, but an intense, almost unimaginable shade of blue. A color of deep peace. A profound calm of infinite space. Let this color fill your mind's eye. Let it soothe you. It is the color of rest. The color of the deep, quiet, healing part of the world. And the deep, quiet, healing part of yourself. Immerse yourself in this calming, peaceful blue. The mysteries of the ocean are vast. We have only touched upon a few of them tonight. But the greatest mystery of all is how something so powerful can also be so peaceful. How a system of such immense energy can produce such profound and enduring calm. This is the final thought to hold on to. That true peace is not an absence of power, but power held in perfect, effortless, and beautiful balance. And now, my voice will begin to fade. The story is told. The journey is done. The only thing that is left is for you to complete your own personal journey into the land of dreams. It has been a true pleasure and a quiet honor to be your guide. I am the Sleepy Geographer, and I wish you the deepest and most peaceful rest imaginable. So let go. Let go of this moment. Let go of the sound of my voice. Let go of the last remnants of the day. Allow your mind to become completely empty, completely silent, and completely at peace. You are now drifting, floating, sinking into a wonderful restorative and well-deserved sleep. Let the gentle current of sleep take you now. There is no need to resist. It is a warm, safe, and welcoming flow. It is carrying you to a place of perfect peace, a place of profound rest. Allow it to carry you away from the world of thought and into the world of dreams. All of the great, slow, powerful rhythms of the planet are now aligned with your own need for rest. The turning of the earth, the pull of the moon, the silent, deep flow of the ocean. They are all here in this quiet moment to support your journey into sleep. You are not alone. You are held by the universe itself. The ocean is breathing in the deep. The continents are drifting in their slow geologic time. The stars are wheeling in the vastness of space. And you are breathing in the quiet of your room. Everything is as it should be. All is calm. All is peaceful. It is time to rest. Let the final layer of consciousness gently dissolve. Like a fine mist burning off the surface of a cool morning lake. Let your mind become clear, open, and still. There is nothing left but peace. Deep, profound, and all-encompassing peace. Embrace it. The great, silent river of the night is now carrying you. It is a current of deep and dreamless sleep. Let it take you. There is nothing to fear. It is a journey of healing, a journey of restoration, a journey back to yourself. Your body is heavy. Your mind is quiet. Your heart is calm. This is the state of perfect rest. You have arrived. There is nowhere else to go. Simply be here, in this moment of perfect peace, and let sleep completely and totally enfold you. The story of the oceans in motion is now a distant echo, a faint memory that is already fading into the landscape of your dreams. All that is left is the feeling of calm it has brought you. Hold on to that calm. It is yours to keep throughout the night. The world is now asleep. The great work of the day is done. The great quiet work of the night is beginning. You are a part of this work, the work of rest, the work of healing, the work of dreams. Surrender to it now. And so, the final words are spoken. The final thoughts are thought. We have reached the shores of slumber. It is time to step off the vessel of wakefulness and onto the soft, quiet sands of a deep and peaceful night's rest. May your sleep be a deep and silent ocean. May your dreams be gentle, passing ships in the night. And may you awaken to the dawn feeling as fresh and as new as the morning tide. Rest well. Thank you for sharing this quiet time. It has been a joy to travel with you. Now let the silence take over. Let the darkness comfort you, and let your sleep be profound and complete. Sleep now. Just sleep. Let every part of you accept this simple, beautiful invitation. Sleep. Rest. Be still. And let the quiet of the night be your greatest comfort. The journey is over. Peace be with you. Good night. Good night. Good night.